Good. Well, good morning. How is everyone? Can you hear me? Yeah? Thank you so much for the welcome. It's like I've been here before. Thank you so much. Missions team, I want to thank you and Michael for inviting me to come and talk about something that is really close to my heart. It's this city, Peoria. It's a place where I live. It's a place where many of you live. It's a place where you feel called to for church. And today I wanted to take you on a bit of a journey because this city that I love, I feel there is a vehicle within this city that can impact the city in some significant ways. And so today, if you're cool with this, I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey because I feel like God has impressed this on me to just talk about this journey because whether you know it or not, you're already in for the ride. You're already a part of the journey. In fact, you were a part of that journey 20 years ago when the Dream Center started. And so today, I want to unpack everything that pretty much has happened in the last 20 years. So I've heard Michael preach. He preaches for like 3 hours. So I know we're fine, right? So let me ask you this question. And there's no shaming on this question. How many here have no idea what the Dream Center is? All right, okay, all right, oh man. How many here have never been to the Dream Center? All right, okay, good. Today we are going to unpack what the Dream Center is. We're going to talk about the building that is 1 block away from this building and what goes on there 24/7. But I can't talk about the Dream Center without unpacking how it started. 23 years ago, there was this Welshman that had this crazy idea of putting a church downtown Peoria. Back at that time, churches weren't going into downtowns. It wasn't the cool thing then. They were going out to the suburbs and out to different areas, not just in Peoria, but throughout the globe. But my dad, he had this burning desire to see a church downtown. And so Riverside started, and there was 2 crowds that were coming. There was the one crowd that wanted to come to church on a Sunday and get really filled up, ready to go and attack the week and really be light in the darkness around where they lived. There was that crowd that were coming to the church for that. But then there was another crowd. A crowd that were walking from the near north side, or they were coming from Taft Homes, or they were coming from the south end, and they were coming, yes, to hear about Jesus, but they were also coming for help. The leadership team at that time saw this and they felt we needed to do something that wasn't about church, but was about kingdom. Now let me try and explain, because I know there's a lot of new folks here that this church thing is new to you. Many churches create things within their church for their church. Right? They create things so that their church looks good and feels good so that it will pull people in. And some of that is okay, right? I'm not against that. But then there's a kingdom mindset. And what a kingdom mindset is what we are doing here is bigger than just what's happening in this room. Right? What we are doing within this room can impact people throughout this city, but it doesn't just have to be with one church. A kingdom thing means we bring others together to impact cities, to make Jesus famous. It's a kingdom thing. And that's what the leadership team wanted to set up when they started looking at how were they going to impact this city. So that team flew out to Los Angeles, California, to look at this model that had just been going for a few years called the Dream Center. The Dream Center out in LA is the old LA hospital. If you take the size of OSF, that is the size of the Dream Center in LA. They minister to over 50,000 people a week. They're just a few blocks from Skid Row. In fact, a lot of you know my son Clay. He actually now works just 5 blocks from the LA Dream Center. He can see the Dream Center every day as he goes into work. And they were there seeing all these ministries and impact in the city, and they knew that they could not duplicate that from LA into Peoria. The needs are different. But they knew they could bring something back that was at the heart of the Dream Center and is at the heart of every Dream Center. And that's find a need and fill it. What are the needs in Peoria that they could meet? So they get back and they start going to the near north side with this program called Adopt-A-Block. All that Adopt-A-Block is going out and trying to find the needs within the community. And as they started talking to the folks on the near north side, they heard of many different needs, but one of them was there was an old grandma. She was looking after 6 kids. The kids were her grandkids. And they turned to her and said, how can we serve you today? What are some of the needs that you have? And she turned to them and she said, I need help in getting these kids to school. She said, all these kids need shoes and they need school supplies. I can't afford both. I'm on a fixed income. So the church at that time said, hey, we can address that. We can do something about that. They rallied around 300 bags loaded with school supplies, told the near north side, we're going to do a backpack giveaway. And when the doors opened, the line was already down the street, and within 20 minutes, all the bags were gone. That was a sign that there was a need within this city, especially when it comes to kids and poverty. So a couple of years later, they were looking for an executive director, and I threw my name in the hat and landed the job. It's funny because there was a board at that time, a Dream Center board, and they had whittled it down from like 21 people to 3. And it was at that point at 3 when I told my dad, hey, I'm up for the last 3 for the job. He didn't even know I'd applied for it. I got the job, and my heart and my vision started exploding for this city. In the middle of the interview, one of the questions that I was asked was, what's your dream for the Dream Center if you get it? I just turned to them and I said, I want it to be nationally known. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I want people to know about the Dream Center in Peoria. Not to get a name or a brand, but if people know about the Dream Center in Peoria, it means we're making a difference. People talk about things that are making a difference. And so we started on this journey. Back then, it was me and a part-time person. We had a cubicle in the Riverside offices across the street. Our budget was $100,000 a year. And we had a huge, huge heart to impact this city. We wanted to impact the families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. And so at that point, we were up to about 3 or 4 ministries. Things were going well, but I was ready for something a little bit different. I remember the day I walked into my dad's office. He had the corner suite overlooking the city. And I walked in. This was when we were at the Holiday Inn building. And I said, Dad, I'm fed up. He's like, you've only been in the job a year or so. I said, no, I'm fed up of being in a cubicle. I'm fed up of just having the 3 or 4 ministries. I feel like this has got to be bigger. I feel like we need a dream center. So he said, what are you thinking? I said, I think we should call the YMCA. So he looked at me a bit funny. I'd seen that look a few times. I said, let me call them. So I call the Y, and I get the guy on the line, and man, I asked for a bottle of water. This is like legit. Excuse me. So I call the guy. Now the Y, if you didn't know, if you haven't been past Perry, the Dream Center is the next street over, okay? It's the old YMCA building. It had started at $4 million. It had been on the market for 4 years. No one was biting on it. In fact, it was becoming a bit of an eyesore within the city. So I called this guy, I said, hey, I'm interested in buying the building, and he starts to laugh, which is very common when people hear my accent on the other end of a phone, because they're like, what is this? Is the king calling me or what? What's going on? And so I can do that joke now, king, queen, I can do that joke now. So he says, it's funny that you would call, because in the last 9 months, no one has called about this building. The price has come down to $1.4 million. And people, we were still at a budget of $100,000 for the whole Dream Center. I said, okay, I'd like to meet with you, your board, our board. And he said, well, wait. I told you no one's called about this building, but also today, Methodist Hospital have called wanting to buy the building. Well, I'm like, if there's a bidding war, they've won. So we decide to meet with Methodist Hospital, with our board, and with the YMCA's board. We meet, and I just start sharing my heart for the poor and the broken. About this could be a spiritual hospital for this city. That this could be a place where people are restored, where the hurting and the broken could come and find healing. And then I sat down. Then Methodists got up, and they started to talk. And they said, if we bought this building, we would knock it down. We don't need this building. Now, what was part of this building was a parking lot across the street. Methodist already owned the first 2/3, but the last third, the football field-sized parking lot, was a part of this property. So we turned to them and we said, okay, it's $1.4 million for everything. What do you want to pay for the parking lot? Because we don't need it. Out of the $1.4 million, they turned to us and said, we'll buy the parking lot for $1.2 million. We ended up buying a building for $200,000 that's 140,000 square feet. We bought this building. It's 140,000 square feet. At the time, there was 2 gymnasiums, 8 racquetball courts, a swimming pool, 21 apartments, a homeless shelter. There was all this stuff in the building, and we got it for $200,000. Within 2 weekends, we raised the $200,000, didn't go into any debt for it. And here's the crazy thing. In the last 15 years or so that we've had it, we've put about $10 to $12 million into it, and we've never gone to the bank once. So now I can start really sharing this vision. I can start telling the story. I can start meeting the cries of the city. Let me pause here. Wherever Jesus went, there was always people shouting at him. Yes, there was people shouting and saying that he was the Messiah and that he was going to make a huge change. But there was another crowd that was shouting at him. The people that were shouting at him were people that had needs, that had problems, that were needing healing and being restored. And listen to me, Jesus heard them before he saw them. Jesus could hear what was going on in the city before he could really see it, because he heard the needs of the people. I spend a lot of time these days helping churches set up dream centers and even being a part of church leadership teams as they're trying to really find out what their culture is, what their vision is, how to build their church. And I often ask the leadership team this question: what has your church been called to? And what I find is a bunch of answers that come back that are programs and things that are from other cities that they want to bring to their church because they've seen it work in another city. So they're like, we feel we could do this because we've seen Gateway do this, and we feel we could do this because we've seen Mosaic being able to do it, and we feel that we could do this because we've seen Crosspoint do it, and all these church stuff from different countries, different cities, and they're coming in and they're saying, well, that's what we've been called to. And I said, no, wait, you've got it wrong. I'm not asking you what cool program do you want so people will come to the church. I'm asking you, what have you been called to do? I say, let me ask you another question. What is the cries of your city? You can do all the cool programs you want. But you've got to understand the cool problems were a byproduct of another city with another DNA, with another set of cries within that city. But what are the cries within your city? Because here's the deal. Once you answer that question, you then know what your church has been called to do. Once you're meeting the needs of your city, then you can be light. See, we have been called to be set apart. We have been called to bring healing and hope. And so as you start hearing those cries, you can then start meeting need, which then creates the DNA within a church. The greatest thing that you have in Peoria is some amazing nonprofits. Not just the Dream Center, Peoria Rescue and Southside and Teen Challenge and Midwest Food Bank. I could go on and on and on of all these organizations that, believe me, we work together like crazy. Why? Because we're not the only people that are listening to the cries of the city. There are other cries of the city that are going on that we lean in to other nonprofits. So as a church, make sure that you are tapping in to the nonprofits within this city that are faith-based. That's critical. There's some great nonprofits in the city that are not faith-based, but they'll come at a different angle. Make sure you're leaning into that, because then you'll hear the cries of the city. Jesus knew this so well. He had been doing a bit of ministry, and we catch up to the story at Matthew 9, Matthew 10, where he's been doing all these different miracles. And it says in the end of chapter 9 that his heart is moved with compassion. But then straight into chapter 10, he calls the disciples together. It was like this little huddle, like, okay, guys, I can't do all this. We forget Jesus was human at that time, so he could not be in 20 places at once. So he turns to the disciples, and this is what he says. This is the charge he gives them. Matthew 10, 5 through 8. He says, don't begin by traveling to some far-off place to convert unbelievers. Let me just pause there. If you're ever wanting to do an overseas missions trip, you first got to do it locally. It's right there. Don't begin by traveling to some far-off place. Let's read on. And again, I'm not against global missions at all. But you just got to get the priorities right. Start local, go global. Right? And don't try to be dramatic by tackling some public enemy. Go to the lost, confused people right here in the neighborhoods. Tell them that the kingdom is here. Again, we're talking about a kingdom thing. Bring health to the sick, raise the dead, touch the untouchables, kick out the demons. You have been treated generously, so live generously. This scripture, with the cries of the city that we were seeing and are seeing, is what fuels us each and every day at the Dream Center. So, what do? At the Dream Center, we impact families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. Why do we start with kids and youth? Because within homes of poverty, they don't have a choice. They don't get to choose where they live. They don't get to choose what school they go to. They can't go and get a job to get out of the situation. And so for us at the Dream Center, our approach is to impact families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. Because guess what happens? Once you start working with kids and youth, you then get into the homes. So that's what we do. So you may say, Andy, how do you do that? Well, everything that we do is wrapped up within our core values. We want to give dignity, show compassion, and ignite purpose. Give dignity. If you've been to the Dream Center, you'll see, and again, please hear me, right? This is something that is moving 24/7. We are not the perfect organization in town. We are striving for this day and night, literally. But when it comes to dignity, if you walk into our building, we want people to feel welcome just by the way it looks. And then when they meet someone, there's dignity. And the services we give, there's dignity in how we treat people. You want to give dignity? You've got to be consistent. It's not an event. Dignity isn't just something you do. You've got to live it. It's also hard because dignity also takes a mentality from enabling someone to empowering someone. And I'll be honest, the church, it's a brilliant thing. But sometimes our good intentions hurt the ones we're trying to help. Sometimes being the place that is the only place that someone can run to can sometimes hurt us. Hear me, please. Trying to get to the root of someone's issue is the key to giving someone dignity. Trying to find out what's happening in someone's life so that you can empower them and not just enable them. So that you can lean into them and be able to say, listen, God's created you for more than this. But we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. How do we empower you? That is all part of dignity. Showing compassion. Being there. But then not leaving them there. But then sparking and igniting purpose in people. So everything we do is wrapped into those three cores. Then we go and say, okay, now we've got that, what can we do to impact the city? And we have 4 pillars, 4 main things that we do. We have DCP housing. By the way, DCP stands for Dream Center Peoria, just in case you weren't catching on. DCP housing. We then have DCP students, DCP cares, and DCP mobile. And I told you I was going to take you on this journey. I'm going to unpack what we do. Everyone still with me? Yeah, okay, all right. So DCP housing. At the Dream Center, we have 2 floors. That is our homeless shelter. Our homeless shelter is the only emergency shelter for women and children in Peoria. What does that mean? We don't close. We don't have a time where people have got to be in. We don't kick people out. So if someone comes to the Dream Center at 3 a.m., drunk or high, we welcome them in. We put them in a room where they can calm down. But they're not going to die outside while it's -10. Each night we see anywhere from 75 to 100 people. In the last year, our numbers have doubled. The month of June last year, we had 145 to 155 every night for a month. And so, this has become a huge need. Our homeless shelter not only is seeing those numbers, but also the average age in our homeless shelter is 9 years of age. Homelessness looks completely different to us. Just 3 weeks ago, we had a mom show up with 9 kids. That sends our staff crazy because you've now just gone up 10 people, meals, clothing, needs that they have, getting the school buses coming to the Dream Center to pick up the kids, helping mom trying to get on track somehow. In the last 10 years, so we're going through an audit at the minute. Every year we have to go through an audit. And so we've been pulling up our 10-year report, because it's been 10 years since we took on the homeless shelter. In the last 10 years, 11,500 people have slept in our homeless shelter. Think about that. 11,500. Now, the amazing thing with the homeless shelter is this. Everyone thinks that all these folks are from Peoria. 24% have come from Tazewell County. This isn't a Peoria problem. This is a Central Illinois problem. Right? Last year, we served 67,000 meals. We made them all in our new kitchen at the Dream Center. That is the type of need that we are seeing. But we don't want to just leave people in the shelter. That isn't the goal. The goal isn't to have a cool homeless shelter so people just stay there. Our aim is to move them on. Now, we know that there is a group or a core of our homeless guests that we see that they will be with us for a long time. Whether it's through mental illness or disability, no one around, no real support, that they will not be able to make, to be able to be on their own, living somewhere. We understand that. That's part of what we do. And so we try to make it feel as home as possible. But then we want to transition people from the homeless shelter into our 21 apartments. This is called The Village. The Village to us is the key. If we can transition people from the homeless shelter into the Village, again, we've been doing this for 10 years. Right now, we are at 93% never going back to homelessness. Think about that. 93% never go back to homelessness. So we want to try and transition people to there. The apartments are 1 to 3 bedroom apartments, and we're able to bring a team around those individuals. Counselors, caseworkers, social workers. We've got AA groups. We've got Bible studies. We've got all these different groups. We even have nurses and doctors coming into the Dream Center daily to make sure that everyone's doing okay. In the last 6 months or so, I have been in the middle of showing people around the Dream Center when I do tours. I do a lot of tours showing people around, and I've got familiar with the look. The look is someone within the group that wants to talk to me, but doesn't know how to. And so it's like they're staring at me like, hey. And it's because they're with a group. They may be with fellow workers from work. This happened to us just a few months back. Springfield Clinic, who is a new medical group in town, contacted us and said, we want to bless the Dream Center. I'm like, hey, I'm up for that, whatever you want. And so we told them about our recording studio that we're opening in the next few months, and said, hey, we need the instruments for the recording studio. And they're like, we can take care of that. I said, wait. I said, when I say instruments, I'm not on about something from a garage sale. Again, we're back to the dignity thing, right? So I sent them a list of musical instruments that we needed, and it came to $30,000. And they're like, we'll get them. We'll buy them for you. So they come to the Dream Center with all this stuff, and as they're bringing it in, and as I start to do a tour, I see this lady getting very emotional. So I wanted to show you what I saw and felt that day. Take your attention to the screen. Some of these kids have either eliminated dreaming, they've seen stuff go on in the neighborhood or in the family, and they're like,
I don't have a dream for my life. They're scared to dream. Well, we come alongside them and say, you know, you were created for more, and we're going to help you get on that journey. This year is our 20th anniversary for the Dream Center. One of the local churches saw this concept of the Dream Center in Los Angeles, and that's how this all began. Seeing need within the city and feeling like they could address it. We want to create this Dream Center Peoria so that many businesses and churches and individuals and families can come together to impact the city. So it becomes like this epicenter of compassion. Each and every day, the staff and volunteers that come here live and breathe one mission statement, which is impacting families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. We have a homeless shelter here. Over 100 people are here every night. The average age in our homeless shelter is 9 years of age.
My daughter was actually a resident here for several months. She got into a bad situation and decided that she didn't necessarily want to be at home. She lived on the streets for about a week and then ended up here. But when she got here, I knew that she had a roof over her head. She had food in her belly and clothes on her back, and just a safe place to land.
The data has shown that 93% never go back to homelessness. And so that's the goal for us with our housing, and really show them hope and show them a way that they can make it.
They gave her the opportunity to get back on her feet. She finally did come home. She is now on a much better path. She has a job that she loves. I couldn't be prouder of my daughter. And I believe that it wouldn't be possible if not for the Dream Center.
When it comes to this specific program and this specific gift that Springfield Clinic are giving us, we have over 100 kids that come to our after-school program each and every day. They not only do the educational stuff, but then we have a full-blown trade school. Carpentry studio, small engine repair and motorbike repair, t-shirt printing business. We have 3D printing, including the new recording studio that we're going to be opening very soon. These kids never thought they would even get a guitar lesson or a drum lesson or sit behind a sound console. And now they'll be able to do that because of what Springfield Clinic is doing, and we are so thankful for that, because without this, it would just be a room.
The fact that my employer now supports them in their giving back to the community just amazes me at the outpouring of love. I just want to say thank you to Springfield Clinic for supporting this beautiful organization, and thank you for the Dream Center Peoria for everything that you do to help our community.
And so we just want to thank you for that, because it does help us help turn dreams into reality.
So as you saw in that video, they touched on the next pillar that we have. We've got DCP housing, DCP students. Every day we have anywhere between 60 to 100 students that come to the Dream Center. We're trying to spark something in them. So we have DCP Kids, which is our 5 to 10-year-olds. They're the kids that come that are needing help with homework, and they need mentoring and tutoring. And believe me, we're always needing help in all these programs. And that's one of those areas where you really get close to a child and be able to really help them. Then you go from DCP Kids to DCP Youth. We didn't just want to be babysitting. We wanted to spark something in kids so that they could see a way out of poverty, especially through business. So we have a full-blown trade school. We have everything from a coffee program, DCP Coffee. We have a roaster. Kids are learning how to roast coffee, package coffee, how to make it, how to ship it out. You saw Krista, who was up here earlier, getting the Honors Award. She is our DCP Cares Director, but also she heads up the DCP Coffee. In addition to that, we have carpentry, small engine repair, we have 3D printing, bicycle repair, t-shirt printing, electrical circuitry. And like I mentioned, we're going to be having the recording studio soon. We're even talking with WCIC right now about them coming in and helping us teach kids how to do podcasting. Now, I've got to put a plug in here. If you're looking for a good podcast to listen to, me and the pastor from Rock Church, Chuck Tate, we have this podcast called Revival Town Podcast. And we interview some serious people. Like, we just interviewed the guy who created and is the director of The Chosen, right? We actually also interviewed the gal who plays Peter's wife in The Chosen. We've interviewed Amy Grant. We've interviewed John King. We've interviewed some people who are making a difference. Right now, we're about this week to interview one of the top professors at Asbury College. If you've been watching the revival that's been going on, we're about to interview him this week. That will be coming out. So, shameless plug. Revival Town Podcast. Just wherever you listen to podcasts, go and get it. But we will do the podcast in that studio. That's how I tied it in. See how I did that? Okay. Then our next division is DCP Cares. This is our outreach program. This is where we create programs so that it's an easy on-ramp for you as churches to be able to come and be a part of. And so I'm going to list them, but I'm going to do this pretty quick. But we have ministries like the Hope Store. Oh, I thought I'd get a cheer from everyone who helps. The Hope Store is a place where we take items, we give them away. We're open twice a month. It's our connection and a way to connect with people to get them into other programs that we do. So if you've got clothing and things like that, don't take it to Goodwill. Come and bring it to us. Okay. Remember the program we talked about at the beginning with the backpacks? To date, we're over 100,000 backpacks that we have given away over the last 20 years. Backpack Peoria is always right at the beginning of school, the last Saturday in July. Another outreach program that we do is Serve the City. Serve the City is happening April 29th. Our aim is to bring all these churches and businesses together. We'll get the service projects, and you just show up for a morning of service. We do all the hard work. You just show up and help. And so at the lobby table, Krista will be out there where you can even sign up for that right now today. It's live on our website, Serve the City. In 2 weeks, we have Promise of Hope. Promise of Hope is a way that we can bring dignity to girls who thought they were not going to prom. We have over 1,000 prom dresses where these gals get to choose a prom dress and the accessories. We actually have schools busing the girls into this program each year. Then we have Mission Peoria. Not sure if you've heard of this one. We've had to take a bit of a breather. It's a missions trip for young people. It's a week where we can take this generation and stir them up to make a difference, but not only make a difference, we then know we're making a difference in their life as well. And so we've took a break the last few years, not because we wanted to, but there was a silly thing called COVID, and people were a bit freaked out and being in groups and stuff. But this year we are doing it, and we're doing it different. This year, everything is going to be housed at the Dream Center. Why? Because we have a kitchen where we can now feed everyone there. We have places for people to sleep. And we only have 200 spots available. So get onto your youth pastor, Josh, and get the kids signed up so that there is a contingency of Riverside young people. It will be the best week of their lives, I guarantee it. Within that, we also do Metro Kids at Mission Peoria, but then we do it year-round. We have 2 locations. It's like VBS on steroids. And we do it in East Peoria, and we also do it at Glen Oak every month. You can be a part of that. Then the last one within the DCP Cares division is emergency response. When we see something within the city, when we hear that cry, it's not going to be a program that we can do forever, but it's just something that we can step into for a time and be able to help. Then our DCP Cares division takes care of that. Then our last division, DCP Mobile. This has been around for about 1.5 years, 2 years. This came out of COVID, really. We were talking about it before COVID. I'd seen this model throughout the world, but COVID really heightened everything that we were doing, not just in the building, but out in the community. This is like our street team. So we take services to people. We have a mobile shower truck with 4 showers and bathrooms in the truck. We have a mobile hair salon. It's an old RV that we renovated. We can go and do haircuts in the community. We have a mobile laundry unit with 3 washers and dryers that we can go into the community and just help mom or help the grandparents with this load of laundry that they may have. And then we've just got a food truck. And the food truck you'll see around town, on the back of it, you'll see it will say, "For God so loved Peoria." And that's going to be hitting the roads this spring. We're just getting all the licensing done as we speak. And again, why are we doing it? Because we know that people can't get to us all the time, so we want to go to them. We partner with nonprofits, we partner with churches, we partner with schools, and we take this whole convoy. As long as there's a fire hydrant, we can do it. Because that's where we get the water from. We're allowed, the city allow us to hook into the fire hydrants, and they give a thing so that it's not like in our face, and we're able to get the water from there. So that is the Dream Center. And so in closing, I just want to share how you can get involved. First and foremost is prayer. Guys, this is hard work. We are seeing people at their lowest. There was a 10-day span last year where we saw 3 people murdered that were either on our staff or in our programs. That brought huge weight for everyone we're serving. We had 2 kids murdered. So you can imagine the trauma that was going on, not just with those families, but with all those kids that were in that class. We had one of our staff members murdered. You imagine the staff now having to rally around. We can't make it without churches praying for us. So pray for us. Get involved by serving. It's easy. Go to our website, get involved. There's a button that says get involved. You click that and sign up. We'll get you in the right spot, but just take that action of getting involved and serving. It may be the best way to start is serve the city on April 29th. It's a morning, you can bring your family, you get a bit dirty, it's fun, you're with the kids, you're with people from churches here and throughout the community. But make that step to get involved. You can also tell others about the story that I've shared today about the Dream Center. Now, I want to make it even easier for you. So I've talked about the building, I've talked about the ministries, but I want you to experience it. So this Tuesday night, we have an event called Soup and Soul. And it's 30 restaurants and churches that bring their best soup. I know Rob and John are going to be there with their soup. The Dream Center chef. All I'm saying, our Dream Center chef that we have, she had us do this testing of soup. And she's like, we want you to name it. So we're all eating it. We're like, oh, this is good. This is good. I'm like, what's this meat? And she's like, oh, just eat it. So we're eating. I'm like, no, there's something. She goes, it's alligator. I was like, wow, it's a bit snappy. So she's going to be there with her alligator soup. Here's the deal. I don't want money to be an issue for you to come and see the Dream Center, because not only will you come and have the soups, you can also take a tour of the building. So on the screen, there should be a QR code coming up. If you want to just QR, you know how to do this? Just take a picture of that. I'll just send you to a link, right? We've got free tickets for you, right? It's normally $10. Don't worry about it. Use the QR code. Go and see Krista. She has the QR code, and we have physical tickets as well to get you into Soup and Soul. It's from 5 to 8. We're feeding you dinner, all right? Let's just look at it that way. You won't have to make dinner on Tuesday night. We want you to experience the Dream Center, so make sure you're going and getting that. And then the last thing of how you can get involved is financially. I'm not going to go on this long. Remember, I told you it was me and a part-timer, $100,000 a year, 3 or 4 ministries. Now it's 50 staff members. Our budget runs around $2.7 million a year. After grants that are paid to us from different entities, we still have to raise around $4,000 a day to keep the Dream Center running. So you can help with that, and you do. You already help. But today, something may have hit you and like, man, I need to give a bit more in the faith offering that the church is doing so we can bless the Dream Center more. Then go ahead and do it. I won't say no, all right? But that's a way that you can help us as well. In closing, I am so thankful for how you have been a part of this journey in the last 20 years. We have seen what the dream was, which was to create this thing called the Dream Center. To be not be owned by one church, but to see dozens of churches and businesses and individuals involved in what we're doing day and night. And I always think about back then when we were starting it, and especially when we bought the building, to one night that really sparked and focused us. Please take your attention.